लोग तो अभी और भी आते रहेंगे।
ठीक है।
Very good evening. I welcome all of you on behalf of Karol Bagh CP Study Circle on today's webinar on NBFCs, role, regulation and road ahead. On this subject, our very honorable, respected and experienced Raman Agrawal ji with us. I welcome you, sir. I also welcome Hemant Pavaji and all the attendees on behalf of Study Circle. To briefly introduce Raman Agrawal ji, Raman Agrawal is the Director of Finance Industry Development Council, a representative body of assets and non-financing, non-banking finance companies. He is currently consultant to the World Bank, consultant to Nomura Research Institute Consulting and Solution India Private Limited, area head NBFC at Council for International Economics Understandings, and advisor Sriram Transport Finance Limited, which is one of the leading NBFCs. He is also an independent director on the board of Pisilo Digital Limited, which is a leading NBFC in North India, engaged in financing MSMEs on a digital platform. He has more than 29 years of working experience in the NBFC sector. He has been actively representing the NBFC sector, being a member of advisory group to Ministry of Finance and RBI, core group set up by Ministry of Corporate Affairs, and a special task force at FICCI. He was the signatory to the engagement letter signed by World Bank Group with FIDC. He is the chairman working group on NBFC at the Center for Economic Policy Research. He was awarded the Best NBFC Exemplary Leader award at the ET Now BFCI SI Award and 100 Top Most Influential BFSI Leaders awarded in the World BFSI Congress in 2018 and 2019. He has addressed major events and seminars like Global Convention on Corporate Governance and Sustainability at London, IFC's Financial Infrastructure Workshop for the Afghanistan Bank, Euro Finance India, the Economic Times Summit on Financial Inclusions, National Summit on NBFCs, and World Auto Congress organized by ASSOCHAM. He has been an invitee to the pre-budget discussion of the Finance Minister with representatives from banking and financial institutions. He is a great faculty at Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, International Management Institute, New Delhi, and Indian Institute of Management, Tiruchirappalli. Ramanji is a master in urban planning from School of Planning and Architecture, New Delhi, and Bachelor of Civil Engineering from Thapar Institute of Engineering and Technology, Patiala. He has also undertaken a special training program for the personnel of non-banking financial companies at RBI College of Agriculture Banking, Pune. This is the brief profile of today's speaker. I once again welcome you, sir. And with this, over to you, sir.
Thank you. If I can share the screen.
Yes, you may share, sir.
Is it allowing me?
Yes, your course, sir. पहले से सर उसको ओपन करना पड़ेगा.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. So I hope it is visible.
Yes, sir. Yes, visible.
Okay. एक मिनट में थोड़ा सा. Okay. Yeah, sorry. Thank you, Rajesh ji, and good evening to all my chartered accountant friends. It's always a pleasure to be among professionals, and especially people who are involved in auditing NBFCs. Today, so as the topic suggests, we are going to talk about the role, regulation, and road ahead of this very important sector of Indian economy. I'll quickly run through the slides. Then we can have a session for question answers where you can note down your queries and I'll try to address as much as possible. Just to give you an overview, so as on 16 July 2020, apologies for a slightly old data, but that is the latest we have. Total 9,590 NBFCs were registered with RBI, and out of which 101 are the housing finance companies. So you would know that HFCs are the latest entrants to the NBFC fraternity. Earlier, they used to be separate because they were regulated by National Housing Bank. Now, HFCs are also regulated by RBI. So out of this 9,590, what is important to note here is that more than 9,100 of NBFCs are having asset size of less than 500 crores. So you can call them small and medium size. So out of 9,600, 9,100 are small and medium size. Only 292 are above 500 crores, what we call as systemically important. We shall talk about later. And the deposit taking NBFCs are only 64. So this number has been drastically coming down. Some of the experienced friends would know that this figure of deposit taking NBFCs was in thousands way back in 1997. Another important term, let me clarify here that often you will find media especially talk about NBFCs and address them as shadow banks. Now, this is something we and the sector had strong objections to, because it does not present the right picture. And RBI has officially dropped this term, and even World Bank has now dropped this term of shadow banks, especially in the Indian context, because NBFCs in India are very well regulated. So it's important to know this. This is just a brief, concise balance sheet of the NBFC sector, if I may say so, as on March 2020. So the total balance sheet size, if you look at, is somewhere around 34 lakh crores is what I say. So today, if you ask me, it should be somewhere around 37 or 38 lakh crores is what is the total balance sheet size of NBFCs. So we are almost number 3 or 4 in the system, just behind the banks and insurance companies. The sector has gained a lot of significance. I need not say, we all know. Coming to the role, obviously, although we may say NBFCs have been in business for more than 80 or 90 years, some of the companies are even 100 years, the likes of Muthoot and all. But often people tend to question that why do we need NBFCs in the system? And I think what we really need to understand is that this is perhaps a unique entity which has a history of almost 100 years of lending in India. The key aspects is that NBFCs are masters in funding the unfunded. So catering to the unbanked or the underbanked segment of the society, where banks don't reach, NBFCs reach. And on the other hand, now NBFCs have a regulation history of 25 years, because, you can say 24 years, because 1997 was when the RBI Act was amended. So we are a very well-regulated entity with a history of 100 years of operations, 24 years of stringent regulation, and catering to the unbanked segment. NBFCs prevent the concentration of credit risk in the system, because you cannot be dependent only on the banks for providing credit delivery, especially in a vast country like India. NBFCs are known to provide prompt and tailor-made services, flexible as per the needs of the borrower. These are some of the list of expert committees or task force or working groups set up by either RBI or Ministry of Finance over the last many years, starting from 1971. Various committees have been set up. I mean, I need not go through. The idea here was, 1992 Shah Committee was the one which for the first time brought in the concept of registration of NBFCs. 1998 Vasudev Committee was the one which was set up just after the CRB debacle happened. And based on the committee's recommendation, the RBI Act amendment was carried out, and the entire paraphernalia of regulation of NBFCs came in. This 2003 Parliamentary Standing Committee on Finance is important for reasons I will touch upon slightly later. 2011, we all know the Usha Tharad Working Committee, and 2012 is the Key Advisory Group, which I was myself member of, Key Advisory Group on NBFCs. Now, why I'm bringing you these committees is because if you go through the reports, you will find one common feature in all these committees right from 1971 till date. All of them have unanimously acknowledged and appreciated the role of NBFCs in catering to the unbanked segment of the society, and therefore laid down the importance of NBFCs in the Indian system and Indian economy. So that was the key idea. Now, the definition of financial inclusion as given by RBI is before you, and as it is there on the screen. If you just read the words on the underlined segments, appropriate financial products and services to the vulnerable groups of the society at an affordable cost in a fair and transparent manner by mainstream institutional players. So if you see all these aspects and put them together, NBFCs fit in perfectly in this definition. And these are the four key pillars of financial inclusion. These are from the perspective of the borrower. Reliability, he looks for an institution, a lender who is reliable. He looks for a lender who is affordable. He looks for a lender who is accessible, easily accessible, and who is flexible. On all these four parameters or pillars, NBFCs, you will agree with me, would score very high. Although undoubtedly banks are the most reliable and most affordable, but when it comes to accessibility and flexibility, there are certain constraints with the banks. Similarly, if you look at the microfinance players, they may be most accessible and flexible, but in terms of affordability and reliability, to an extent, becomes doubtful because a lot of MFIs are still unregulated. So to that extent, we can say, and it is often said that NBFCs are the one who wrote the rule book to financial inclusion. So financial inclusion, if you talk in this country, NBFCs, you can say, are the drivers of financial inclusion in India. Now, the role of NBFCs has not only been recognized by the people or the society, even world bodies like the World Bank and IMF have recognized the role of NBFCs. So last year during the COVID times when COVID stuck, World Bank gave a loan of $750 million to Indian government and for a development of MSMEs. In their report, World Bank identified three key pillars for MSME development. And one of those three pillars was funding of MSMEs by NBFCs. And that is why I was fortunate to play and contribute in this report. Even IMF has gone on record to, in their outlook on Indian economy, to lay down the importance of liquidity to NBFCs for ensuring lending to MSMEs. Similarly, we all know Government of India, post the COVID first wave, came up with the Atmanirbhar economic stimulus package, where a lot of schemes and provisions were announced for NBFCs to ensure liquidity to NBFCs so that credit could flow to the society. Similarly, RBI time and again through various measures like TLTRO, priority sector lending, etc., have been announcing measures to ensure liquidity to NBFCs. So all in all the bodies, right from RBI regulator, the policymaker Government of India, and the apex world bodies like World Bank and IMF have on record acknowledged and appreciated the important role of NBFCs. Now I come to the key aspect of regulation. So every entity, in order to be legal, we all know, has to have a legal and a regulatory framework. So when you say legal framework, obviously we need to be covered under a statute or an act. And NBFCs are regulated under the Reserve Bank of India Act 1934 as it was amended in 1997. And based on this amendment, Chapter 3B was introduced, which talks about provisions relating to non-banking institutions receiving deposits and financial institutions. So under this chapter, guidelines were issued because this chapter empowered RBI to issue guidelines and directions to NBFCs, and that RBI has been doing time and again. So the the legal power comes from the RBI Act. Quickly running through some of the important provisions of the RBI Act, Section 45 IC, this talks about the definition of NBFCs. So when we say definition, it covers what all activities are covered. So it says that list of activities includes financing, that means any kind of financing, acquisition of shares, stocks, bonds, debentures, or securities, hire purchase, collecting monies in lump sum and otherwise. So these are the activities which are considered to be activities done by NBFCs. But it does not include, so these are exceptions, agricultural operations, industrial activities, that means manufacturing, or any sale purchase of goods, or even construction, purchase, sale of immovable properties. So these are activities not considered as NBFC. So what the RBI Act says, that if a company has any of these activities, that means financing and etc., singly or taken together as its principal business, then this company is to be defined as an NBFC, right? Now, the next logical question is, what do you mean by principal business? One way of saying is that, okay, I met Rajesh ji, and Rajesh ji मुझसे पूछते हैं कि अग्रवाल जी आप क्या करते हो? मैं कहता हूँ मेरा NBFC का business है. So that is one way of saying my principal business. But you will agree this definition will not stand in any court of law. So RBI has gone on to the extent of defining what is principal business. So what RBI says is that if a company's total assets, that means 50% or more of the company's total assets are financial assets, meaning arising out of these activities. And so it's not or, it's and 50% of company's gross income is from these financial assets. So you have to satisfy both these criteria, that the total assets 50% or more should be from those activities, and 50% of gross income should also be from those activities. If both the conditions are satisfied, then you can say safely that the principal business of that company is of an NBFC, and such a company has to mandatorily seek registration with RBI as an NBFC. Just a quick rider here, that bank FD is not considered as a financial asset for the purpose of treating a company as NBFC. Because why this is done so? I mean, you could appreciate, suppose I have a manufacturing company, and it is possible that out of the savings of the company, I keep parking those savings in the form of bank FD. Tomorrow, it is likely that the bank FD quantum may grow to an extent that if I include this bank FD as a financial asset, my total assets will cross 50% limit. And then I would technically qualify to be an NBFC just because my FD amount is that much. So to take care of that anomaly, RBI said bank FD is not a financial asset. इसका एक repercussion और भी है, that tomorrow if somebody is to set up a new NBFC, you cannot park your money in a bank FD and say कि साहब मेरा इतना capital पड़ा हुआ है, so इसलिए I should be treated as FD. That money has to be in the form of proper capital lying in a bank account, not in a bank FD. Now, the next logical question is registration and net owned funds. So under the RBI Act, if a company satisfies this definition, then it is mandatory to seek registration. Without registration, if a company does the activities of NBFCs, it is an illegal or unlawful activity. Now, as per the RBI Act, the minimum NOF net owned funds required was 25 lakhs in 1997, but this was raised to 2 crores in 1999. So even today, if I want to start a new NBFC, we need 2 crores of capital. Although we all know RBI is shortly in the process of increasing it, but this 2 crore thing is what is needed today as to start any new NBFC. So all those NBFCs which were 25 lakhs or 2 crores के बीच में थी, उनकी deadline to achieve the 2 crores NOF expired in 31st March 2017. और उसके बाद you would have seen RBI issued show cause notices, and they have gone on record on cancelling the certificates of registrations of many NBFCs who could not reach 2 crores. Now, RBI has also given the definition of NOF or net owned funds. So what is NOF? It is the aggregate of paid up equity capital and your free reserves as per last audited balance sheet. This is important. It has to be as per the last audited balance sheet. So you add your equity capital with your free reserves, and that total you deduct the following: accumulated balance of loss or deferred revenue expenditure or other intangible assets or investments in shares, anything. All these have to be deducted only if these put together are in excess of 10% of the aggregate. So meaning आपने equity capital और free reserves को add किया, if you read an amount of X, if any of these activities or any of these put together account for at least 10% of X, तब आप उसको X में से reduce करेंगे, minus करेंगे to arrive at the definition of NOF. So that is how you will calculate the net owned funds of any NBFC. And for all purposes, RBI norms talk about NOF and not equity capital only. They talk about NOF. That's why it is important. Now, as per the Finance Act, RBI had in the budget 2 years back, RBI has amended Ministry of Finance has amended the RBI Act, and RBI has been given certain additional powers. This happened post ILFS and DHFL default. इसके बाद RBI has now got the power to increase that minimum NOF. Earlier क्या था, Act के अंदर it was restricted कि RBI could not raise that level beyond 2 crores. Now that ceiling has been raised to 100 crores. So today, if RBI wants, it can increase the minimum NOF from 2 crores to 100 crores also without amending the Act. However, as per the new proposed regulatory framework जो हम बात करेंगे, RBI is proposing it to increase to 10 crores, but RBI के पास अब power है to increase it to 100 crores. Today, RBI has power to supersede the NBFC board and remove any director and appoint a new director on the board. We saw this happening in the case of ILFS also. We all know a new board under the chairmanship of Mr. Uday Kotak was appointed. Similarly, RBI has got the power to remove or debar the auditor for 3 years. It has also got the power for resolution of NBFCs. ये use हुआ है DHFL के केस में, to frame schemes for amalgamation with any other entity, for reconstruction or split the NBFC into different units. Similarly, RBI has got power now to in respect of the group companies. This was relevant because we saw how complex web of group companies and subsidiaries and downstream subsidiaries ILFS tha. So all this was arising out of these defaults, and suitably the RBI Act was amended, and now RBI has got all these powers also. So let us accept that often I come across many people say कि क्योंकि अगर NBFC deposit नहीं लेती तो वो NBFC नहीं है, उसको registration नहीं चाहिए. That's wrong. The criteria has to be that 50% assets and 50% income. That is the only criteria and nothing else. And any company which satisfies that criteria has to meet registration. और अगर किसी का RBI ने registration cancel किया है, that company technically cannot function as an NBFC, because otherwise the penalties could be imposed. It could even lead to imprisonment. So it's a cognizable offense. Now, all these companies, although may also be technically doing financial activities, but since they are regulated by some other regulator, so they are exempted from the provisions of this Act and seeking registration as NBFC. Obviously, insurance company, because regulated by IRDA, chit fund companies regulated by the state governments, stock exchange companies, mutual benefit company, all these are regulated stockbrokers by SEBI. Securitization company, they are governed under the SARFAESI Act. So all these companies which are regulated by SEBI, IRDA, or any other regulator are exempted from seeking registration as NBFC by RBI. There is also a very important provision in the RBI Act that as per Section 45 IC, every NBFC has to mandatorily transfer 20% minimum, 20% of the net profit every year to a special reserve. Now, this is in addition to the general reserve which any NBFC may create. This is a mandatory reserve. Every year, 20% of your PAT has to go to this reserve. And this RBI norm says no appropriation is allowed for this reserve except for the purposes specified by RBI. And till date, RBI has not specified any purpose. So what does this mean? If you look at the balance sheet of any NBFC, especially if an NBFC is old, you will find a very healthy reserve because this 20% every year profit ka transfer ho raha tha. And that keeps on adding to the overall capital adequacy. That's why the NBFC sector enjoys a good capital adequacy. Next important element is classification of NBFCs. So NBFCs in India have been classified on various criteria. Originally 1997 में जब RBI Act amend हुआ था, let's appreciate that amendment came out of post the CRB debacle or the various scams which happened, wherein a lot of NBFCs in thousands in numbers accepted deposits and they could not repay. Some were circumstantial defaults, some were intentional defaults. So the focus was on the deposit taking activity, liability side. So uske base par RBI ने एक norm बनाया, deposit taking NBFCs are NBFC D, non-deposit taking NBFC ND. ये classification बनाई गई based on your liabilities. As time passed and as NBFC sector started growing, RBI saw that the kind of lending which NBFCs were doing were very vast and very diversified. So based on your asset side of the balance sheet or the kind of lending which NBFCs was doing, RBI came up with this classification. So today, if an NBFC is doing any kind of lending and investment activity, it is classified as an investment credit company or ICC. If an NBFC is into infrastructure financing, it is IFC. Microfinancing, it is MFI. Factoring, it is factors. Similarly, core investment company is a CIC. And these are the new players, technology players, the peer-to-peer lending or NBFC P2P, account aggregators AA, mortgage guarantee MGC, non-operating holding companies जो RBI ने new banking license के लिए mandatory किया था to establish non-operative holding companies. These are also NBFCs. And the latest entrance is the housing finance company, which are now called as NBFC HFC. So these are the activity-based classification. Third criteria is based on size. So as I said, initial focus of regulation was on the liability side, but as NBFCs grew in size and some of the NBFCs became so big that they were bigger than the banks. Today, if you look at some of the NBFCs balance sheets are bigger than some of the banks balance sheets. So based on that, RBI came up with a classification of systemically important. So what RBI says that any non-deposit taking NBFC with an asset size of 500 crores and above, as per the audited results, will be treated as a non-deposit taking systemically important NBFCs, meaning this NBFC is important to the system. So usko bola gaya NBFC ND SI. So today, sitting today, all these classifications go parallelly. So a company can be NBFC D and it can also be any of these NBFC, ICC or IFC. And similarly, it can be an ND or NDSI and also having any of these classifications. So ये सारी classifications parallelly चलती हैं, तीनों criteria आज की डेट में चल रहे हैं. They are in practice. And especially जो RBI certificate है, it mentions it. It mentions whether it is NBFC D or ND. It also mentions whether it is ICC or IFC or MFI. So this is mentioned in the RBI registration certificate itself. Then the way RBI norms are issued and the regulatory framework जो आज की डेट में है RBI का, वो basically is split into two buckets. First bucket is a stringent norms which comprises of all NBFCs D, that means deposit taking NBFCs, irrespective of size. Even if a company has 1 rupee of public deposits in its balance sheet, irrespective of its size, it is treated at par with systemically important. So non-deposit taking systemically important NBFCs and NBFCs D, इन दोनों को RBI ने एक सेम ब्रैकेट में रखा है, and these both are subject to the most stringent RBI regulation today, which have been harmonized with that for banks. So almost bank-like regulation है इन दोनों categories के लिए. These NBFCs are also subject to on-site inspections, जैसे banks की inspection होती है, ऐसे every year NBFCs की भी on-site inspections होती है. As I said, all deposit taking NBFCs, irrespective of their size, are treated as systemically important. The other bucket is ND category, having asset size of less than 500 crores. इनके लिए the regulatory framework is slightly relaxed, is a slightly less stringent framework. So there are two broad categories. So let's, okay, now first important aspect is the minimum capital adequacy ratio. So today, the minimum capital adequacy ratio, the CRAR, that means risk adjusted value of capital adequacy ratio prescribed is 15% for NBFCs. Out of this, it is mandatory that tier 1 capital has to be minimum 10%. And these 15% capital adequacy criteria does not apply to the ND category. It applies to NBFCs D and NDSI only. The tier 1 capital for NBFCs who are into gold loans, unke liye 10 ki jagah, it has to be 12%. So it is 15% across the board for all NBFCs except ND. Out of this, 10% has to be tier 1. And if you are a gold loan company, then tier 1 has to be 12%. And rest 5 or 3% can be tier 2 capital. Now, I will first touch upon the RBI norms for deposit acceptance. Now, RBI has clearly given a definition of deposit. What is a deposit? And this deposit definition is a negative list. So all these activities, all these deposits are not defined as, these are exempted from the definition of deposit as per section 45 IBB of RBI Act. So it says deposit as defined under so and so includes and shall be deemed to include any money received by way of deposit, loan, any other form, but does not include. तो ये negative list दे दी. Negative list में क्या है? Amount raised as share capital, contributed by a partner, received from a scheduled bank or a cooperative bank, any money received from any development bank or state financial corporation, any money received as security deposit, dealership deposit, earnest money, advance, etc. Any money received from individual firm associations not being a corporate registered under the State Money Lender Act, and any money received as subscription of a chit. तो ये act के अंदर है. इसके अलावा, in addition to this, RBI has come up with an additional negative list in its guidelines. तो ये जो पहली list है, ये RBI Act में दी हुई है. So this is a statutory list, negative list. In addition to this, RBI has added to it, so any money received from any central state government, IDBI, LIC, JSC, NABARD, etc. is also not deposit. Any money received by a company from any other company, so that means ICD. Intercorporate deposit is also not public deposit. Any money received as share application money, debenture application money, bond debenture application money is also not deposit. Money received from directors and relatives as defined under the Companies Act is also not deposit. Deposit received from shareholders by a private limited company only. Secured debentures is also not deposit. non-convertible debentures with a maturity of 1 year and above or minimum 1 crore or above की अगर subscription है तो even unsecured debenture is also not deposit. Unsecured loans by promoters, money received from mutual funds, similarly CPs issued as per RBI guidelines, perpetual debt and infra bonds. So these are another set of negative lists. So all these amounts is not deposit. Baki any other amount received in any other form is to be treated as public deposit. So it is a very clear-cut negative list given. For deposit acceptance, all NBFCs have to have minimum credit rating, minimum investment grade rating, and RBI has approved the following rating agencies: CRISIL, ICRA, CARE, Fitch, Brickworks, Equity, जो पहले SMERA होती थी, and the latest is IVRPL. और उन सब की minimum investment grade ratings ये हैं. So any NBFC which is authorized by RBI to accept deposits should have a minimum rating of this as prescribed. Only then it can accept deposits. And the maximum limit which it can accept deposits is up to 1.5 times its net owned funds, right? उससे ज़्यादा नहीं ले सकते. और अगर कोई downgrading होती है, so immediately you have to stop accepting fresh deposits and stop renewals. You have to refund maturities on maturity. But let's be very clear that nobody forces you to repay prematurely. You have to repay deposits only as and when they mature. So let's be very clear. Often I find people getting confused कि अगर कहीं downgrading होती है तो आपको immediately repay नहीं करना है. जैसे जैसे deposit mature होता है आपको repay करते जाना है. Then as per the RBI Act, for deposit taking, there is a provision that you have to maintain an SLR of 15%, out of which minimum 10% has to be by way of government securities or government guaranteed bonds, and up to 5% can be in bank FDs also. This has to be based on the last working day of the second preceding quarter. तो काफी time मिलता है. So for example, for quarter beginning 1st October, आपका जो डिपॉजिट था एज ऑन 30th जून, उस फिगर के बेस का 15% आपको 1st अक्टूबर से मेंटेन करना है फॉर दिस क्वार्टर. सो दैट इज हाउ यू कैलकुलेट, एंड देयर इज अ रिटर्न टू बी फाइल्ड. प्लस यू हैव टू क्रिएट अ फ्लोटिंग चार्ज ऑन योर और लिक्विड एसेट्स और जो SLR एसेट्स हैं, दिस चार्ज हैज टू बी इन फेवर ऑफ a trustee based on the trust deed which you have to sign, and trustee has to be a SEBI approved trustee, just like you have trustees for debentures issued, public issuances jo hoti hain. And there are certain rules for advertisement for deposit acceptance. Of course, there are certain other norms in terms of minimum 1 year, maximum 5 years, maximum interest आप 12.5% से ज़्यादा नहीं दे सकते. Brokerage maximum 2% is allowed, उससे ज़्यादा नहीं दे सकते. And then there is a provision of providing loans against deposits up to 75% of the amount and charge 2% additional rate or the contracted rate, and certain records which you have to maintain. For deposit taking NBFCs, there is a restriction in investment in land and building and unquoted shares, obviously to ensure that the public money should not get invested in speculative activities like land and building. So any NBFCD cannot invest in land or building any amount exceeding 10% of its NOF and 20% of its NOF in unquoted shares of another company. Of course, यहाँ पर एक rider है जो land and investment है, इसमें except for its own use, as you see this. So meaning अगर कोई NBFC की अपनी branches हैं या अपने offices हैं which it owns, वो इसमें calculate नहीं होगा. So ये जो 10 जो investment है, it is for the purpose of investment other than use. If you are investing in property, buying land or any property, उसमें आपका restriction है up to 10% of your NOF. Now coming to the RBI norms, the stringent norms for all NDSI and D. As I said, this is the most stringent norms. Obviously, prudential norms apply, जिसमें NPA is at par with banks. So asset classification norms 90 days होने पर you have to treat as NPA. पहले this was 360 days in case of lease hire purchase and 180 days in case of loans. but post Usha Thorat committee recommendation, this was brought at par with banks to 90 days. And there is a standard asset provisioning also, and income recognition, all as per the RBI norms you have to do, make provisions. All accounting standards as prescribed by ICI have to be followed, and there have to be board approved policies for accounting of investments as current long-term investments or current investments. Similarly, if you have any demand or on-call loans, you have to have a board approved policy. Standard asset provisioning of up to 0.4% is required to be done. NPA provisioning you have to do based on the categories of NPAs, whether it's a doubtful or a bad debt. There are certain disclosures to be made in the balance sheet, which are mandatory. Then for these NBFCs with asset size of 100 crores and above and all deposit taking, RBI has come up with, these are certain latest norms on liquidity risk management or the LRM. ये हुआ था post ILFS. So this talks of liquidity risk management policies, strategies, practices, MIS, internal controls, maturity profiling, liquidity risk management. All these are targeted to ensure that NBFCs should monitor their liquidity and ensure based on the risks you have enough liquidity with you in just in case the situation worsens. Similarly, there are guidelines on maintaining liquidity coverage ratio LCR, और वो prescribed है based on your size. So NBFCs having 5,000 crores of above asset size and ND, and all NBFCs D, irrespective of size, are supposed to have LCR. LCR is high quality liquid assets as a percentage of total net cash outflows in next 30 days. Meaning अगले 30 दिन के अंदर जो भी आपके net cash outflow होने वाला है, which could be by way of your laid out expenses or maturing liabilities, उसका certain percentage you need to maintain in high quality liquid assets, HQLA. तो वो ratios prescribe किए हैं RBI ने, and those ratios you have to achieve in a graded form based on 50 time frame. So a graded approach RBI ने किया है. All this is, as I said, was done post ILFS default, because that is where the whole concept of liquidity crunch crept in, and we saw a lot of NBFCs facing liquidity crisis. So उसके बाद RBI ने ये norms introduce किए थे. For all these NBFCs, it is mandatory to have accounting year from 1st April to 31st March. You cannot have any deviation. So balance sheets have to be finalized and audited. Audit has to be completed before 30th June. It is mandatory. If you see NBFC balance sheet, there has to be a specific schedule appended to every balance sheet. You may know, I think that's under 9AA करके कुछ है, which has a special appendix by way of addendum to the balance sheet. There is a separate schedule जिसमें certain RBI ने prescribe किए हुए हैं, certain key parameters have to be clearly spelled out. So this is unique to NBFCs and not available to other categories of companies here. Of course, then any change in address, directors or editors within 1 month of occurrence, you have to inform RBI. और कुछ भी चेंज होता है, एड्रेस अगर चेंज होता है, डायरेक्टर्स का ऑफिस का एड्रेस चेंज होता है, और एनी डेजिग्नेशंस प्रिंसिपल ऑफिसर्स की change in specimen signatures, etc., have to be all informed to RBI within 1 month. There are norms for restructuring which are similar to those for banks. So this we are again talking for NBFCs of NDSI and NBFCs D. Such companies have to maintain mandatory demat accounts, so everything has to be in demat only. For deposit taking NBFCs, you need to have separate demat accounts for SLR account and a separate demat account for all other investments and all other securities. NBFCs, for providing loans against security of listed shares, there is a restriction of LTV, that means loan to value ratio of 50%, not more than that. And it has to be, if you are providing loan against the security of shares, it has to be only against the security of group fund securities as collateral. And you have to report online to stock exchanges on a quarterly basis. there is a clear-cut prohibition on NBFCs lending against the security of their own shares. So no NBFC can take its own shares as security and give loans against that. That is not allowed. If you are lending against the gold jewelry, the LTVs is slightly more stringent. Maximum LTV allowed is 75%. And there are certain further norms in terms of branches. If you have more than 1,000, you need to have RBI permission. So this is only for gold loan companies. There is also credit concentration norms, obviously saying as never put all your eggs in the same basket. So for all these companies, if you, in terms of lending, you cannot lend more than 15% of your NOF to one single borrower or one single entity, and 25% of your NOF to a single group of borrowers. Similarly, for investing, you cannot invest more than 15% of your NOF in one single company or 25% of your NOF in single group of companies. And if you are into both lending and investing put together, then the restriction is 25% of NOF in single party and 40% of your NOF in single group, lending and investing put together. So these are norms prescribed to ensure that you don't get stuck and put all your eggs in one basket. There is a diversification and a spreading of the risk. Now I come, so these were the broad RBI norms for the stringent category, जो deposit taking NBFCs थी, irrespective of size, or NDSI. Now we come to the NBFCs ND, जिनके लिए RBI norms थोड़े relaxed हैं, as I said. So relaxed meaning, as I said, उनके लिए they are exempted from that 15% capital adequacy, उनके लिए नहीं है. However, उनके लिए RBI is prescribed a maximum leverage ratio of 7. So you cannot leverage more than 7 times of your capital. तो broadly हम देखें तो बात वहीं पर आ जाती है. Similarly, उनके लिए the NPA norms as on date are lax. It is not 90 days. It is 360 days if it is a lease or hire purchase, and it is 180 days in case of loans. So this is a very clear-cut, distinct advantage for these companies. उनके लिए standard asset provisioning is also 0.25% as against 0.4% for the NDSI or NDSCD. No credit concentration norms इनके लिए apply नहीं होते. And by way of reporting, there is only one annual report which they have, annual return which they have to file to RBI, and no on-site inspections. So RBI ने उनको थोड़ा सा relax छोड़ा हुआ है because they are not accepting public money. So this is a concise forms. Now I move to certain set of miscellaneous norms which are applicable to NBFCs in general. So these are, first of course, is Fair Practices Code. This is obviously to ensure that NBFCs function in an ethical manner. So there is a Fair Practices Code which says that any loan application, you have to communicate to the borrower, tell him the documents, you have to provide him a proper acknowledgement for receipt of loan application. Similarly, agar loan approve hota hai, you have to give him a sanction letter which should clearly mention the amount of loan, annualized rate of interest, meaning usko kitna interest rate padega, the actual, not wo jo the age old system of flat rate of interest jo NBFCs karti thi, wo sab khatam ho gaya. You have to quote actual rate kya padega in terms of IRR. You have to also tell them what is the penalty for any late payment, and also mandatory furnish a copy of the loan agreement duly signed both the parties. और अगर कोई भी change होता है terms and conditions में, proper आपको intimate करना है. For recovery में no harassment, no bothering at odd hours, and no use of muscle power. So all these Fair Practices Code, every company has to have a board approved policy. And all this Fair Practices Code, every company को board में approve करके इसको mandatorily company की website पे डालना है और RBI को भी submit करना है. ये mandatory है. It is for all companies. You have to have it, and also if display it or make it readily available at your offices. So this is mandatory. Similarly, there are certain specific, I'm not going into the details, certain specific norms हैं जो NBFCs बड़ा specific business करती हैं, जैसे factoring business करती हैं या infrastructure financing करती हैं या MFIs हैं, IDF है, क्योंकि ये बड़ा एक niche lending है, तो इनके लिए एक specific norms है which I'm not touching. Now this is important. Sorry. See, what happened was, some time back, it was a norm that only if you are a deposit taking NBFC, only then there needs to be an RBI approval. Rajesh, I'm sorry, can you just give me a 1 minute break?
Are sir, most welcome. Please
Just
welcome.
1 second.
Sir,
I'll be
1 minute, 2 minutes, please take your time. Sir, and जी sir.
Yeah. So for any, lot of sale purchase NBFCs की होती हैं और आज भी होती हैं. So it is very important. I'll spend 1 extra minute here. See, अभी तक ये नॉर्म, पहले कुछ टाइम तक ये नॉर्म था कि सिर्फ डिपॉजिट टेकिंग कंपनीज का अगर कोई एक्विजिशन या ट्रांसफर या चेंज इन मैनेजमेंट होता है तो यू नीड अप्रूवल. फॉर नॉन डिपॉजिट टेकिंग ऐसा नहीं था. एंड that's why a lot of sale purchase of non-deposit taking NBFCs happened. What RBI realized was, and in their own terms they said, that this was providing a backdoor entry. Because isme, let's be fair, a lot of foreign entities use this route to make a backdoor entry and bypass the RBI scrutiny for app registration. तो वो क्या करते थे, किसी भी रजिस्टर्ड एनबीएफसीज को खरीद लिया और यू आर ऑटोमेटिकली उसमें चेंज इन कंट्रोल मैनेजमेंट करके आरबीआई को इंटीमेट करना होता था एंड यू आर स्ट्रेट अवे डे 1 इन बिजनेस. उसको चेक करने के लिए आरबीआई ने नॉर्म्स चेंज कर दिए. सो टुडे ऑल एनबीएफसीज, एनी एनबीएफसी, द मोमेंट देयर इज एनी चेंज, so it says any takeover, acquisition of control which may or may not result in management, any change in shareholding by way of acquisition, transfer of 26% of or more. So the moment shareholding 26% से ज्यादा change होती है, that sets off a trigger. Similarly, any change in management resulting in change in more than 30% of the directors, excluding independent directors, उसमें आपको immediately prior permission लेना है RBI से. Let's be very clear now. So the norm is clear. Before any such acquisition, change, control, or change in shareholding or management, prior approval from RBI is mandatory. And let me tell you by experience, for doing this scrutiny or giving this permission, RBI का due diligence is as stringent as a new application. Now, I am saying this, और मेरे पास अगर आज कोई प्रपोजल लेके आता है कि अग्रवाल साहब कोई हमें एनबीएफसी बता दो, हम खरीदना चाहते हैं, मेरी उन सबको रिक्वेस्ट होती है कि unless you want a ready-made setup, there is no benefit in buying a running NBFC. It is better कि आप एक नई एप्लीकेशन डाल दो, क्योंकि आरबीआई उतनी ही स्क्रूटनी करने वाला है और उतना ही टाइम लगेगा. अगर नई एप्लीकेशन को 3 महीने 6 महीने लगता है, तो अगर किसी एनबीएफसी को आप खरीदते हैं तब भी आपको अप्रूवल मिलने में उतना ही टाइम लगेगा. सो देयर इज नो इंसेंटिव टू बाय अ एनबीएफसी. सिर्फ एक इंसेंटिव मिलता है कि आपको एक रेडीमेड सेटअप मिल जाएगा. ऑल अदर इंसेंटिव्स आर गॉन नाउ. सो दिस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. लेट्स नॉट बी कैरिड अवे बाय somebody trying to mislead you. So it is a prior approval, और आरबीआई बहुत स्ट्रिक्ट है आज की डेट में इस पर. Plus there has to be a prior public notice about change in control after RBI permission. 30 days before effecting the sale, and this has to be given in one leading and one vernacular newspaper. And this has been plugged to, as I said, ensure there is no backdoor entry. क्योंकि आरबीआई चाहता है कि आज की डेट में जो भी इस बिजनेस में घुसे वो इस बिजनेस को एज सीरियसली ले जितना सीरियसली वो बाकी एक्टिविटीज को लेता है, and he or she should be subject to stringent RBI scrutiny. So that is very important. Similarly, there are guidelines for corporate governance. Many of them are similar to as the corporate governance norms as per Companies Act. There are minor additions to it. So जैसे audit committee में minimum 3 directors होने चाहिए, and this is same as the Companies Act. You have to have nomination committee में there has to be a fit and proper status, and risk management committee has to be there in addition to ALCO. Appointment NBFCs with asset size of 5,000 crores and above have to mandatorily appoint a CRO, Chief Risk Officer. It is mandatory, who should function independently, और उसका identification उसका clear has to be intimated. That CRO should clearly identify, measure, and take steps to mitigate any risk which he or she may foresee coming in. Then there is a fit and proper criteria spelled out for appointing directors on the board of any NBFC. There is a provision that rotation of partners, of course, ये सब अब change हुआ है. I'll come on to the new guidelines of statutory auditors. And there is framing of internal policies, board approved policies have to be done. Certain disclosures and have to be mandatorily made in your balance sheet. Now, these are norms for opening of branches, subsidiaries, joint ventures, offices or investment offices abroad. So कोई भी NBFC अगर offshore activity करना चाहती है, कर सकती है, but there are certain conditions. So any offshore activity has to be with prior approval with RBI. The investment has to be, cannot be in non-financial services. It has to be in core activities only. And overseas activities में 100% of NF से ज़्यादा नहीं कर सकते. उसमें कुछ NPA, आपके net NPA 5% से कम होना चाहिए, कम से कम 3 साल का profit making track record होना चाहिए, and of course FEMA and KYC करना है. And there are certain other spelled out norms. I need not list out. You can read out. They are self-explanatory. So I mean, you have to have, so अगर आपने कोई subsidiary खोलनी है तो उस पर क्या liability आएगी, अगर कोई JV बनाना है तो क्या liability है, all that is spelled out. KYC norms, I need not say, you all are aware. Prevention of Money Laundering Act 2002 equally applies to NBFCs as it applies to banks or any financial institutions, and equally NBFCs have to report to FIU. It is very, very important on all the CTRs, the cash transactions and the STRs or the suspicion transactions. All this reporting has to be done on a monthly basis to the Financial Intelligence Unit, FIU of Ministry of Finance. RBI ने NBFCs को allow किया है to issue co-branded credit cards with banks. इसमें key rider ये है कि कोई risk participation नहीं होना चाहिए, risk पूरा बैंक का होगा. The role of NBFCs will only be in providing marketing services and such kind of services and get a fee income. No risk has to be taken by NBFCs. So इसके ऊपर lot of work has been done, and some NBFCs like Shriram etc. have come up and issued co-branded credit cards with the banks. Similarly, NBFCs are allowed to distribute mutual fund products. The certain basic norms are laid down as prescribed by RBI, which you have to follow. And certain miscellaneous norms, जैसे वो do not call registry के लिए था, all those have to be registered with the with TRAI. Our NBFCs have to mandatorily account for deferred tax liabilities, deferred tax assets. This has to be clearly spelled out in your profit P&L statements. And NBFCs into insurance business are allowed for certain activities for selling insurance products based on certain criteria. Private placement of NCDs. Now, this became a very important and sensitive issue. A lot of NBFCs bypassed the deposit taking activity by issuing secured debentures on private placement. So RBI felt that this became a quasi public deposit acceptance. तो उसको प्लग करने के लिए RBI ने नॉर्म्स बड़े स्ट्रिंजेंट कर दिए हैं. तो तो अगर एनबीएफसी प्राइवेट प्लेसमेंट से एनसीडी सिक्योर्ड एनसीडी इशू करती है तो उसमें रिस्ट्रिक्शन है that maximum number of investors can only be 200 in one financial year, और आप जो है उसमें the subscription has to be minimum 20,000 and maximum 1 crore. अगर 1 crore से नीचे है तो it has to be fully secured and the tenure has to be at minimum 1 year and you have to have a board approved policy. So it has put a certain riders and restricted the amount and the quantum which you can raise by way of private placement of secured debentures, because this does not fall under the definition of deposits. NBFCs cannot be partners in any partnership firms or LLPs. So NBFC cannot itself be a partner with any partnership firm. All NBFCs, this is also important. यहाँ पर बहुत सी companies I have found and even lot of auditors are not very fully informed. आज की डेट में all NBFCs, it is mandatorily to become members of all credit bureaus. So 4 credit bureaus है जो market में CIBIL, Equifax, Experian and CRIF-IMARC. सारी NBFCs को इन चारों का member बनना है और इन चारों को report करना है. It is mandatory. Similarly, all equitable mortgages जो NBFCs के पास created in their favor after 31st March have to be mandatorily registered with CERSAI. ये भी एक mandatory है. बहुत सी NBFCs ने ये नहीं किया है. This needs to be done. And NBFCs are allowed to act as sub-agents for money transfer business, and NBFCs may offer safe deposit locker facility also by charging certain fees. Now, this is also another very critical element of cash. All my chartered accountant friends, you would know, the section 269 SS of Income Tax Act कहता है कि आप 20,000 और उससे ज्यादा का अमाउंट कैश लोन नहीं दे सकते, और 269T कहता है कि आप 20,000 उससे ज्यादा का कैश रीपे नहीं कर सकते. तो अभी तक क्या था, NBFCs were using a lacuna in the system. तो मैंने जो कहा 269 कहता है कि आप 20,000 से ज्यादा का कैश लोन नहीं दे सकते, वो तो ठीक है, चेक से देते थे. बट जो रिपेमेंट होती थी वो ऑफन वी फाउंड NBFCs बड़ा अमाउंट भी कैश में ले लेती थी. तो ये 269T का वायलेशन इस तरह से नहीं होता था कि वो ओनर्स बोरोअर के ऊपर है. The act says you cannot repay in cash. The act does not say that you cannot accept repayment of cash. So NBFCs were accepting repayment in cash, तो NBFCs बच जाती थी इस प्रोविजन से. ओनर्स बोरोअर के ऊपर आ जाता था, and the borrower being ignorant were openly violating the norms. So धड़ल्ले से NBFCs were accepting cash repayments. इस चीज को RBI ने प्लग कर दिया है, और इसमें ये किया कि RBI ने अब ये कह दिया कि इसमें अब the onus of compliance to 269 SS and T has to be by NBFCs. So NBFCs have to ensure compliance. ये RBI ने कह दिया. तो अब ये RBI ने onus NBFCs पे डाल दिया कि आप 269 SS और T को वायलेट नहीं करेंगे. अगर वायलेट होता है, चाहे बोरोअर करे, ओनस आपके ऊपर भी आएगा. So this is just to plug that loophole. So there are similarly RBI guidelines on securitization, जिसको हम direct assignment भी बोलते हैं, जिसमें there is a minimum holding period, there is a minimum retention criteria to ensure NBFCs have skin in the game. Because बीच में एक फेज आया था जब ऑन टैप सिक्योरिटाइजेशन होने लगा था, मीनिंग इधर लोन डिस्बर्स किया और साथ के साथ ऑनलाइन सिक्योरिटाइज कर दिया. तो इट वाज अ प्रैक्टिस व्हिच वाज कॉल्ड एज लेंडिंग टू सेल. मतलब मैंने अगर लोन दिया और उधर उस लोन को बेच दिया, तो उसको स्टॉप करने के लिए आरबीआई ने ये गाइडलाइंस बनाई थी कि आपको मिनिमम 6 महीने या 3 महीने के लिए उसको अपनी बुक्स पर रखना है, मिनिमम कुछ परसेंटेज अपनी बुक्स में रिटेन करनी है, और इस तरह के कुछ क्राइटेरिया प्रिस्क्राइब किए हुए हैं. Similarly, there are RBI guidelines on outsourcing. So this could be outsourcing for any activity which includes recovery. which includes verification, which includes any sourcing. So कुछ भी आप आउटसोर्स करते हैं उसके ऊपर आरबीआई के नॉर्म्स हैं. सिमिलरली एनडीएसआई एनबीएफसीज को आरबीआई ने अलाउ किया है टू एक्ट एज ऑथराइज्ड कैटेगरी 2 फॉरेक्स डीलर्स, should have minimum ratings or certain criteria है. There are few other important norms. Of course, NBFCs के ऊपर Ind AS accounting system लागू कर दिया गया है, which is only applicable to NBFCs. Banks के ऊपर नहीं है, insurance के लिए नहीं है. So NBFCs having 500 crores and above, that means NDSI are today following Ind AS since 1st April 2018. हालांकि आरबीआई को 2 साल लगे इसके ऊपर एक क्लियर सर्कुलर लाने में, उसके ऊपर अब आरबीआई ने इशू किया है. सो उसमें आरबीआई ने एक बड़ी अनफॉर्चुनेट बात है जिस पर हम आज काफी आजकल रिप्रेजेंट करते हैं. तो इसमें एक कॉन्सेप्ट है एक्सपेक्टेड क्रेडिट लॉस का. आई एम श्योर यू वुड नो दैट यू डोंट हैव टू सी द 90-day क्राइटेरिया, वो अलग है. You have to come out with a board approved policies of what is your expected credit loss in any loan, and based on that you have to make provisions. तो अब Ind AS में ये कहा गया आरबीआई ने कि अगर मान लीजिए आपने किसी लोन को बेस्ड ऑन एक्सपेक्टेड क्रेडिट लॉस, सपोजिंग आपने हाइपोथेटिकली आपने कहा कि इसमें प्रोविजन बनता है 100 रुपए का, लेकिन अगर आईरेक नॉर्म्स के हिसाब से चले और आरबीआई के नॉर्म्स के हिसाब से चले तो वो अगर 90 दिन के एनपीए के हिसाब से उसका प्रोविजनिंग बनती है 110 रुपए की. तो हमने ये सवाल उठाया कि क्या अगर हम 100 रुपए की प्रोविजनिंग करें एज पर ईसीएल तो आरबीआई एक्सेप्ट करेगा? द आंसर वाज नो. सो व्हाट आरबीआई सेड कि अगर आईरेक नॉर्म के हिसाब से और 90-day क्राइटेरिया के हिसाब से आपकी प्रोविजनिंग ज्यादा आती है एज कंपेयर टू ईसीएल, तो वो जो बैलेंस है आपको एक इंपेयरमेंट रिजर्व में रखना पड़ेगा. मीनिंग आपको प्रोविजनिंग तो बेसिकली मिनिमम 90-day नॉर्म के हिसाब से रखनी ही है. अगर आप ज्यादा करते हैं इट्स वेल एंड गुड, बट द क्राइटेरिया फॉर मेकिंग दैट प्रोविजनिंग क्या क्वांटम होगा वो आप ईसीएल फॉलो करेंगे, एक्सपेक्टेड क्रेडिट लॉस, एंड देयर हैज टू बी अ क्लियर कट बोर्ड अप्रूव्ड पॉलिसी ऑन दिस. So this Ind AS accounting system में काफी issues हैं. I am not going into the details. Many a times it clashes with the RBI norms. And unfortunately आज तक RBI ने इसको मैटर को क्लैरिफाई नहीं किया है. आज की डेट में this has created a twin balance sheet issue in the NBFC sector. क्योंकि एक तरफ हमें 90-day फॉलो भी करना है और दूसरी तरफ ECL भी फॉलो करना है. सिमिलरली सिक्योरिटाइजेशन को लेकर भी कुछ इश्यूज आते हैं, बट ब्रॉडली for the sake of today's presentation, NBFCs are following Ind AS. Then co-origination, I'm sure you would know, this is a very fantastic model spelled out by RBI, जहां पर RBI ने कहा है कि NBFCs have been allowed to do a joint lending with bank, जिसमें बैंक और NBFC एक म्यूचुअल एग्रीमेंट साइन करते हैं कि अगर एक बोरोर को 100 रुपए लोन देना है तो 80 रुपया बैंक देगा, 20 रुपए NBFC देगा, दोनों अपना अपना रेट चार्ज करेंगे. बोरोर को एक ब्लेंडेड रेट ऑफर कर दिया जाएगा. मान लीजिए एनबीएफसी ने 20 रुपए के ऊपर 15% चार्ज किया, बैंक ने 80 रुपए के ऊपर 10% चार्ज किया, तो जो एक ब्लेंडेड रेट आएगा बोरोर को वो ऑफर कर दिया जाएगा. तो एक एस्क्रो अकाउंट खुलता है जिसमें 20 रुपए एनबीएफसी डालती है, 80 रुपया बैंक डालता है, और वो 100 रुपया उस एस्क्रो अकाउंट से बोरोर को दे दिया जाता है. बोरोर जब रीपे करता है ईएमआई से तो वो पैसा एस्क्रो अकाउंट में आता है, वहां से 20% प्रोपोर्शनली एनबीएफसी को जाता है और 80% बैंक को जाता है. सो दिस इज द ब्रॉड वे हाउ दिस फंक्शंस. दिस हैज बीन डन to marry the strength of two sectors. NBFCs are strong in sourcing and collections, and banks are strong in having funds. So to marry the two, this product has been created, and now RBI has allowed co-lending for all NBFCs. Earlier it was allowed only for NDSI. Now it has been allowed for all categories of NBFCs, and it is working fine. Going ahead, we see that this will take up and go ahead in a very aggressive manner. Of course, we all know bank lending to NBFCs for on lending to priority sector is also treated as priority sector for banks to the extent of 5% of the total lending. तो ये एक provision RBI ने दिया हुआ है. This is just to incentivize banks to lend to NBFCs and this also enables banks to meet that 40% target of priority sector. MSE, I'm quickly now with the shortage of time, I think we can run through. COVID में जो RBI ने moratorium announce किया था, since that is all over, we can skip, but broadly we all know 6 महीने का moratorium दिया था, और वो broadly RBI ने ये कहा था कि जो asset classification है वो आपका 6 महीने के लिए freeze हो जाएगा. जो status 29 मार्च 2020 या 1 मार्च 2020 को था, वो as it is carried forward होके 1 सितंबर को चला जाएगा. तो वो 6 महीने का पीरियड काउंट फॉर नहीं होगा. उसके बाद वी ऑल नो द मैटर आल्सो वेंट टू सुप्रीम कोर्ट. बट ये सब करने के लिए और एसेट क्लासिफिकेशन बेनिफिट उठाने के लिए एनबीएफसीज को 10% प्रोविजनिंग करना था. 5% क्वार्टर एंडेड 31 मार्च और 5% क्वार्टर एंडेड 30 जून. Similarly, RBI has come out with risk-based internal audit system for NBFCs. Mandatory कर दिया है for NBFCs with 5,000 crores and above. Guidelines. Now this is important. RBI has come up with new sets of guidelines for appointment of statutory auditors. This is creating a lot of issues. ये banks के लिए था, NBFCs को first time include किया गया. इसमें कहा गया है कि 1,000 crore से above के asset size if NBFCs have, all NBFCs, they have to follow these new norms. And for those NBFCs with 15,000 crores and above, there has to be a mandatorily joint audit by at least 2 audit firms. और इसमें कुछ ऐसे provisions हैं that statutory audits अगर NBFCs की 100 branches से कम है तो top 20 branches visit करनी होगी और वहां पर वो आपको ऑडिट करना होगा. ऑडिट कमिटी बनानी होगी. कॉन्करेंट ऑडिटर्स शुड नॉट बी अपॉइंटेड एज स्टैट्यूटरी ऑडिटर्स. और इसमें एक जो टेन्योर है वो कहा गया है कि आपको an audit firm would not be eligible for reappointment for the same NBFC for 6 years after completion of one term of 3 years. तो आपको एक टेन्योर 3 साल का मिलेगा, उसके बाद मैंडेटरीली रिटायर करना पड़ेगा और उसके फिर 6 साल का गैप देने के बाद you can reappoint that same audit firm as your auditor. इसके अलावा there has to be there is a restriction on how many entities each audit firm can audit. उसमें based on the size ये table spelled out करता है कितनी आप maximum NBFCs को audit कर सकते हैं. So ये जो है is still undergoing lot of representation, but RBI on its part is firm. Similarly, post the second wave, RBI announced certain relief measures for restructuring. So RBI has allowed all those MSMEs and individual loans. Eligible borrowers are individuals who avail auto loans, personal loans, etc. and MSMEs. उन सबको अलाउ किया है जिनका एक्सपोजर 31 मार्च 2021 तक मैक्सिमम एग्रीगेट एक्सपोजर 50 करोड़ से ज्यादा का नहीं था, उनका वन टाइम रिस्ट्रक्चरिंग इज अलाउड. सो रिस्ट्रक्चरिंग इज अ मिक्सचर ऑफ मोरेटोरियम, एक्सटेंशन ऑफ द टेन्योर, आप कुछ भी कर सकते हैं, आप रीशेड्यूलिंग कर सकते हैं अपनी. एंड उसमें एक राइडर आरबीआई ने डाला था कि आपको मैक्सिमम आप 2 साल के लिए इसको, ये जो लास्ट आप प्रोविजन पढ़े, तो ओवरऑल कैप ऑन एक्सटेंशन ऑफ रेजिडेंशियल टेन्योर इंक्लूसिव ऑफ मोरेटोरियम शैल बी 2 years. सो आप 2 साल तक का टेन्योर बढ़ा सकते हैं और अपनी EMIs को रिशेड्यूल कर सकते हैं. यू कैन कन्वर्ट एनी इंटरेस्ट अक्रूड इनटू अ सेपरेट लोन और एक नया लोन दे सकते हैं. कुछ आप वर्किंग कैपिटल सैंक्शंस कर सकते हैं, बीच में कुछ मोरेटोरियम भी ग्रांट कर सकते हैं. सो ऑल दिस पुट टुगेदर could be form a package, a restructuring package. Similarly, this restructuring was allowed for MSMEs also. ये है, so MSMEs के लिए भी allow कर दिया है. Although let me tell you, MSMEs के लिए ये already system था for allowing one time restructuring, उसको further extend कर दिया गया था under this new scheme. और यहाँ पर भी वही क्राइटेरिया डाला गया. ऑफ कोर्स सर्टेन राइडर्स दिए गए दैट द बोरोइंग एंटिटी हैज टू बी जीएसटी रजिस्टर्ड एंड इट हैज टू हैव वही 50 करोड़ से ज्यादा का एक्सपोजर नहीं होना चाहिए. और ये भी एक राइडर है, द अकाउंट शुड बी स्टैंडर्ड एज ऑफ 31 मार्च 2000, मतलब एनपीए नहीं होना चाहिए और पहले रिस्ट्रक्चर नहीं किया जाना चाहिए. तब अगर ये है तो इन सबको भी आरबीआई ने अलाउ किया है वन टाइम रिस्ट्रक्चरिंग. There are certain measures announced. We can skip that. This is not for NBFCs. Yes, so this एक आरबीआई ने स्पेशल लिक्विडिटी फैसिलिटी सिडबी को दिया है for on lending to NBFCs also, for lending to NBFCs, for on lending to the healthcare sector and MSMEs and the priority sector. आरबीआई ने एक certain circular इशू किया है on declaration of dividend. इस पर भी कुछ restrictions लगाई हैं. This will come into effect from the financial year March 22, ending March 22 onwards. Usme what they says is minimum prescribed CRAR, NPA ratio should be less than, net NPA should be less than 6% in the last 3 years, and you have to be complied to all RBI norms. Only then you can declare dividend. Kitna de sakte hain? Dividend payout ratio is the ratio between dividend payable and net profit. So RBI ने कुछ spell out किया है कि what can be the dividend payout ratio, ये spell out किया है. So the ceilings of dividend payout ratio is that for various categories, this is the maximum dividend payout ratio you can adopt, depending on which category. So in a way, RBI ने एक kind of a check लगाया है कि आप कितना dividend दे सकते हैं to ensure equitable distribution to all the stakeholders and equitable appropriation, and also creating healthy reserves. Of course, one major change which has happened, this is post FIDC representation, that now Ministry of MSME and now RBI both have included wholesale and retail as part of MSMEs. So आज की date में even traders are part of MSMEs for the purpose of priority sector lending. So all NBFCs lending to traders is also treated as priority sector lending. Going ahead, what RBI has proposed is, I can quickly tell you, RBI ने अभी एक draft discussion paper दिया है जिस पर अभी feedback लिया था, and now they are expected to issue the new framework anytime. तो इसमें RBI ने एक pyramid structure propose किया है जिसमें RBI ने कहा है कि 4 लेयर होंगे. सबसे नीचे बेस लेयर होगा. बेस लेयर में कौन सी एनबीएफसीज होंगी? सारी एनबीएफसीज एनडी जो नॉन डिपॉजिट टेकिंग, नॉन सिस्टमिकली इंपॉर्टेंट है, और वो सारी बेस लेयर में रहेंगी. तो अगर हम फिगर्स में जाए तो 9,500 में से 9,100 और इसमें आ जाएंगे. इनको आरबीआई लैक्स रेगुलेशन रहेगा जो आज की डेट में भी है. मिडिल लेयर में एनबीएफसीज डी डिपॉजिट टेकिंग और एनडीएसआई, ये सारी मिडिल लेयर में आएंगी और इनके ऊपर रेगुलेशन स्ट्रिंजेंट रहेगी जो हम देख रहे हैं. और एक इनके ऊपर एक अपर लेयर बनाया जाएगा विच विल कंप्राइज ऑफ 25 to 30 टॉप एनबीएफसीज इन टर्म्स ऑफ साइज. तो जो सबसे बड़ी 25-30 एनबीएफसीज सबसे बड़ी इन साइज होगी, उनको आरबीआई अपर लेयर में रखेगा और उस एनबीएफसीज की जो रेगुलेशन है विल बी ब्रॉट 100% एट पार विद बैंक्स. तो इन एनबीएफसीज को बिल्कुल बैंक लाइक रेगुलेशन होगा. प्लस इन एनबीएफसीज को आरबीआई एक ऑप्शन देगा दैट इफ दे वांट दे कैन अप्लाई फॉर अ बैंकिंग लाइसेंस. सो दीज एनबीएफसीज will be given an option to convert to a bank, or they can continue to be in the upper layer and subject to bank like regulation. So ये 3 लेयर बनेंगे. जो टॉप लेयर है जिसको रेड जोन कहा जा रहा है वो एम्प्टी रहेगा, खाली रहेगा. ये आरबीआई ने उन एनबीएफसीज के लिए रखा है जहां पर ड्यूरिंग द कोर्स ऑफ इट्स सुपरविजन, ऑन साइट इंस्पेक्शन और मार्केट रिपोर्ट्स आरबीआई को लगता है कि दीज एनबीएफसीज are facing certain stress. उन एनबीएफसीज को उठा के आरबीआई टॉप लेयर में डाल देगा और these NBFCs will be almost 24/7 monitored, supervised by RBI to ensure that they don't fail. तो आरबीआई ने ब्रॉड बेस इस तरह का प्रपोज किया है. कुछ मेजर चेंजेस जो प्रपोज आरबीआई कर रहा है इसमें, वो बेस लेयर में कर रहा है कि जो एंट्री लेवल है जो आज की डेट में 2 करोड़ है, इसमें आरबीआई 20 करोड़ प्रपोज कर रहा है कि नाउ टू सेट अप अ न्यू एनबीएफसी मिनिमम एनओएफ रिक्वायर्ड विल बी 20 करोड़. However, we at FIDC have represented that this should be brought down to 10 crores. And my gut feeling is that this will be 10 crores. However, RBI ने 20 crore कहा है. And उन्होंने कहा है that existing NBFCs who are between 2 to 20 crores, उनको 5 years time, 5 साल का time मिलेगा to increase their NOF to 20 crores. NPA norms जो है वो base layer, that means जो ND कैटेगरी है, जो आज की डेट में जो उनको 180 डेज का बेनिफिट है, वो बेनिफिट खत्म हो जाएगा. उनके लिए भी एनपीए 90 डेज नॉर्म पे लिया जाएगा. उसके अलावा एटलीस्ट वन डायरेक्टर शुड हैव एक्सपीरियंस इन दिस बेनिफिट. और ये तो बेस लेयर के चेंजेस हैं. जो मिडिल लेयर है उनके लिए कुछ चेंजेस जो आरबीआई प्रपोज कर रहा है, वो कहा है, वो आरबीआई कह रहा है रोटेशन ऑफ ऑडिटर्स, दैट in addition to uniform tenure of 3 consecutive years, तो जो ऐसे फर्म है shall not be eligible for e-point. तो ये तो उसमें ले लिया अपने न्यू फर्म्स में. I think we can skip this. Not much to be added. I think we can, for the time we can skip. Of course, base layer में ये भी कहा जा रहा है जो अब इसमें sorry जो upper layer है, they have to come up with a chief compliance officer. They have to have common equity tier. तो उनको बैंक की तरह जो रेगुलेशन होता है, जो CET1 कॉन्सेप्ट है, वो लाया जा रहा है. सो अपर लेयर को ब्रॉडली बैंक की तरह रेगुलेट किया जाएगा. मिडल लेयर का प्रेजेंट सिस्टम कंटिन्यू रहेगा विद सर्टेन एडिशंस. और जो बेस लेयर है उसमें एंट्री लेवल को बढ़ाकर 2 करोड़ से 20 करोड़ कर दिया जाएगा. सिस्टमिकली इंपॉर्टेंट डेफिनेशन जो 500 करोड़ है उसको 1000 करोड़ किया जाएगा. दैट इज व्हाट आरबीआई इज प्रपोजिंग. और ये एक पिरामिड स्ट्रक्चर बनाया जाएगा. सो दिस इज द प्रपोज्ड न्यू रेगुलेटरी फ्रेमवर्क. Coming to the key challenges today, I'm quickly now winding up in another 2 minutes. Today, if you look at the challenges faced by our NBFC sector is primarily here. While on one hand, we keep talking about making the regulatory regime more and more bank-like. Often we see NBFCs, and we do respect, a lot of economists say कि NBFCs का regulation banks के जैसा कर देना चाहिए. That is laughable because you cannot do one side. What about the certain benefits, certain associated benefits? जैसे for example, आज भी NBFCs do not enjoy certain benefits which banks do. For example, all EMIs जो एक corporate borrower NBFCs को देता है, आज भी TDS कटता है. There is no exemption on TDS. आज भी benefit under section 36(1)(a) on NPA provisions जो banks को 10% allowed है, NBFCs को only 5% है. SARFAESI Act में enforce करने के लिए there is a limit threshold of 20 lakhs, and there is no system for a regular dialogue. Today, NBFCs have no platform to have a regular dialogue with RBI or ministry. We do a firefighting. ऐसा नहीं वो हमें नहीं मिलते, but there is no system. आपने सुना होगा RBI governor and both finance minister hold regular meetings with the banks and Indian Bank Association, but there is no such provision for NBFCs. So there are certain challenges which we are representing to RBI. We hope matters shall be taken care of soon. I think I have already run out of time. So thank you all, and I shall be open to any kinds of queries or questions which you may have. Thank you.
Thank you boss. अभी कुछ ही मुझे लगता है 4 ही क्वेरीज है सर. मैं क्विकली पूछ लेता हूं आपसे.
बताइए.
Sachin Singhal is asking requirement of registration with CICS, applicability on NBFC limit. कोई NBFCs को लिमिट है कि 2 करोड़ तक वालों को नहीं पूछा जाएगा, ये क्या है? या चारों को कोई ना कराए, क्या है? रिपरकशन क्या है यदि हम चारों के साथ रजिस्ट्रेशन ना कराए तो?
So up you are saying नहीं, repercussions you are saying अगर सही से नहीं करते हैं, see its repercussions यही है that RBI, as I said, has the power to impose penalty. Obviously, लेकिन RBI ऐसे नहीं करता है. Initially पहले वो show cause notice देगा, आपको बताएगा कि आपने ये violation किया है. They will expect you a certain reply. नहीं करते हैं तो RBI has the power to levy some monetary penalty also on the company. देन बाकी जहां तक जो एनी वायलेशन ऑफ एनी आरबीआई नॉर्म आप मान के चलिए आरबीआई को पावर है पेनल्टी इंपोज करने के लिए. लेट्स बी क्लियर ऑन दैट.
नहीं
और
सर,
जहां तक आपने वो भी बात की ऑल 4 क्रेडिट ब्यूरोज का, वो भी यही है कि इट इज मैंडेटरी टू रजिस्टर. सी इसमें मैं सचिन जी आपको एक चीज और बताना चाहूंगा. इफ यू आर एन ऑडिटर टू एनी एनबीएफसी, यू शुड एजुकेट देम. इट्स इन दी ओन इंटरेस्ट ऑफ एनबीएफसी. अगर आप देखिए, अगर आप चारों से रजिस्टर नहीं करेंगे तो अगर आपका जो डेटा है वो अगर एक ही ब्यूरो के पास जाएगा तो दैट बोरोर अगर आपके पास डिफॉल्ट करता है कैन एस्केप द आईज ऑफ एनी अदर लेंडर टुमारो, एंड ही कैन use that, leverage that, और वो कहीं और से लोन भी रेज कर लेगा, which will not be in the company's interest also. So it is in everybody's interest that all lending data should go to all bureaus.
Sir, what is the responsibility of the statutory auditor in this regard?
See, in this regard, let me tell you, sir, आप मान के चलिए कि de facto responsibility ऑडिटर के ऊपर भी आती है, although there may not be a direct action, but RBI has the power to question auditors also. There are clear cut norms to issue कि आपने इस पर क्यों नहीं, why didn't you raise this point in your audit, और अगर आपने audit में ये point पकड़ा था तो why don't you report it to the board, you should have reported to the board at least कि ये एक violation है. So let us not always look at from the angle of being penalized. Let's appreciate the fact that as an auditor, all kinds of responsibilities to ensure compliance कहीं ना कहीं से directly or indirectly आता है. So if you notice any such violation, please, I mean, initially it can be just by way of an informal information or kind of a notice to the company कि सब आप ये हो रहा है, please do it before it obviously catches the eye of the regulator. But we should ensure that this should happen.
Sir, if an statutory auditor finds such uncompliance on the part of NBFC, is it sufficient to statutory auditor only to report in the auditor report, or there is a mechanism to report directly RBI?
There is a provision. उस पर there is a separate circular I have not touched upon. There is an independent circular for auditors also. What all violations or qualifications have to be mandatorily reported to RBI. नहीं करते हैं तो RBI एक्शन लेता है. उसमें इवन RBI को पावर है आपका लाइसेंस कैंसिल करना, वो भी रिकमेंड किया जा सकता है. तो इसलिए ये सब जो है उसके लिए there are clear guidelines to auditors also.
Next question, Girish Sharma is asking whether a retired banker is required as a director for conversion of a company into NBFC. No.
देखिए आप लेट्स अप्रिशिएट वर्ड यूज किया है फिट एंड प्रॉपर. तो बेसिकली आप इट इज इन योर ओन इंटरेस्ट कि जब आप कोई नई एप्लीकेशन लगा रहे हैं एनबीएफसी के लिए तो बोर्ड पे आप ऐसे एक या दो लोग रखिए हु हैव रेलेवेंट एक्सपीरियंस. तो वो बैंकर लोग जनरली इसलिए रखते थे कि बैंकर को इस तरह का एक्सपीरियंस होता है. आप कोई किसी एनबीएफसी के किसी रिटायर्ड एनबीएफसी पर्सनल को भी रख सकते हैं या किसी भी फाइनेंशियल एक्सपर्ट को रख सकते हैं, आप किसी चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट को रख सकते हैं, किसी इकोनॉमिस्ट को रख सकते हैं, somebody who has an understanding and knowledge of these activities. That is all.
Next question, Sachin Singhal is asking, does even a non-deposit taking NBFC to change or statutory auditor after 3 years, and from when it is applicable?
See, वो अगर आप गाइडलाइन पढ़े उसमें क्लियर कहा है 1000 crores एंड अबव तो आपको करना है. और उसमें भी सेकंड पार्ट क्या पूछा इन्होंने?
सेकंड पार्ट ये पूछा कब से एप्लीकेबल है ये?
हाँ, ये हाफ ईयर इस साल का हाफ ईयर से, सो बिगिनिंग 1 अक्टूबर 2021.
ओके. इन्हीं का नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन है सचिन जी का, सरसई KYC
वो मैंने बता दिया, सरसई वाले मैंने आंसर कर दिया.
ओके. अक्षर जी पूछ रहे हैं, इज रजिस्ट्रेशन विद सरसई मैंडेटरी इवन इफ द NBFC is not into the business of securitization?
Yes. सिक्योरिटाइजेशन इसका कोई मतलब नहीं है. कोई भी मॉर्टगेज वगैरह आप क्रिएट करते हैं, आपके फेवर में चार्ज क्रिएट करते हैं, वो आपको वहां रिपोर्ट करना है.
Sir, is there any exemption for CIC registration for any kind of NBFC?
No, CSE you mean the
CIC वो 4 क्रिटिकल एजेंसीज हैं जो
क्रेडिट इंफॉर्मेशन नहीं,
यस
नो वो सबको सब NBFCs को सारों के सबके साथ करना है, उसके लिए देयर इज नो एग्जम्पशन फॉर एनीबॉडी।
योगी राज जी पूछ रहे हैं इफ ए कंपनी financial assets and income exceed 50% norms in between the year, and that case what procedure need to be followed, because during year there is no final audit financial available with company to follow NBFCs.
So I think you have answered yourself, Yogi Raj ji. It clearly circular says कि as per audited, तो जब साल के एंड में ऑडिटेड रिजल्ट्स आते हैं तब देखा जाएगा ये ड्यूटी। लेकिन हाँ, इस पर मैं एक चीज और बता देता हूं कि अगर एक बार ऑडिटेड में 50% लिमिट क्रॉस हो गई तो टेक्निकली वो NBFC हो गई, उसको रजिस्ट्रेशन लेना है। उसके बाद ओनर्स ऑडिटर पे आता है, क्योंकि हर साल ये मैं आपको बता देता हूं, एवरी ईयर NBFC को RBI को एक ऑडिटर सर्टिफिकेट सबमिट करना है, जहां पर ऑडिटर सर्टिफाई करता है that the company is eligible to continue to hold the certificate of registration, meaning NBFC ने पूरा साल ड्यूरिंग द ईयर ऑन एन ऑनगोइंग बेसिस वो 50% रेशियो मेंटेन किया है। लेकिन ये तभी होगा once it has crossed that limit as per audited and it has obtained that registration.
Gopal Gupta is asking, NBFC are lending in rural area, hence not able to follow the section 269T of the income tax. Whether statutory auditor are responsible?
I think मेरे से ज्यादा ये सीजन चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स यहाँ बैठे हैं, वो ज्यादा दे सकते हैं। This is an income tax matter. I need not say it. Although yes, कुछ मैं ये भी बता देता हूँ, अगर आपने पूछा है, there is some amount of gray area here, especially जब से एक 269 ST आया, उसमें वो जो 2.5 लाख की बात की गई है लोन रिपेमेंट वगैरह की, so lot of people are taking benefit out of that. I mean, I'm just sharing this. Although RBI ने क्लियर किया है कि आपका ओनस NBFC पे आता है, so as I said, अगर NBFC पे ओनस आता है तो इनडायरेक्टली कुछ ना कुछ ऑडिटर पे भी आता है, लेकिन that is all I should say at this stage.
सर एक क्वेश्चन भी है कि जो 2 करोड़ की NBFC सॉरी नेट ऑन फंड अचीव नहीं कर पाई, RBI कैंसिल देयर लाइसेंस, they went into appeal. Now the appeal is pending before High Court.
Right.
Because appellate authority is also order in favor of RBI.
Right.
So what is the responsibility of the auditor when the NOF goes below 2 crores now due to non-recoverability, non-financing another news? So what is the responsibility of the auditor?
ऑडिटर को बेसिकली आपको जो फैक्चुअल पोजीशन है वो आपको रिपोर्ट करनी है, whatever it is, because anyway as you said matter is sub judice. बट ये जरूर है कि एक बार अगर RBI कैंसिल कर चुका है लाइसेंस, तो उस हिसाब से तो टेक्निकली कंपनी कैन नॉट कंटिन्यू विद दैट एक्टिविटी, राइट? ऑफ कोर्स मतलब ये है वो एक्टिविटी नहीं कर सकती एज लॉन्ग एज वो 50%। तो अब आपको वो चीज पर जाना है कि अगर वो कंपनी, मान लीजिए कंपनी तो ऑब्वियसली एग्जिस्ट करेगी, कंपनी बंद नहीं हुई, तो कंपनी की जो भी बिजनेस कर रही है उसमें फिर यू हैव टू एंश्योर कि वो जो एसेट इनकम का जो रेशियो है 50% वाला, वो उसको उससे नीचे लेके जाना है ग्रेजुअली, बिकॉज अदरवाइज वो फिर एक डिफॉल्ट हो जाएगा कि आप टेक्निकली NBFC की एक्टिविटी करे जा रहे हैं विदाउट हैविंग एन NBFC रजिस्ट्रेशन, so that be a direct violation. So that you have to ensure taking, I mean, you cannot draw direct benefit from the fact कि matter is sub judice, because let's see ये एक matter है because आप अपील में गए हो, RBI has on its part cancelled it, so from their perspective it is done. Now till the matter takes a different turn or the courts take a different view in subsequently, only then this changes. Otherwise it remains a cancelled registration, so you have to report or work on it.
सर मेरा क्वेश्चन एक और भी है कि ऐसी कंपनियों पर जो कि कैंसिल्ड है लाइसेंस और दे आर इन अपील, whether all the provisions of the NBFC by the RBI is applicable on such companies?
क्योंकि वो तो कैंसिल हो गया, सर्टिफिकेट ही कैंसिल हो गया ना।
हाँ, तो फिर तो ये सारे एप्लीकेबल नहीं है ना? नहीं है,
वो मैं कह रहा हूँ, पर उसमें आपको फिर वो है ना, ओनस आप पर आता है, आपको मीनिंग ऑडिटर पे भी आता है कि वो कंपनी की रेशो आपको फिर कम करनी पड़ेगी अगर वो टेक्निकली NBFC नहीं रहनी चाहिए।
ललित बंसल जी और मुनीश शर्मा जी ने सर हैंड रेज किए हैं, मैं इनको अनम्यूट कर रहा हूँ. दे वांट टू आस्क सम क्वेश्चन. ललित जी और मुनीश जी, यदि आप सुन रहे हैं मेरी आवाज तो प्लीज आस्क योर क्वेश्चन. यू रेज द हैंड. ललित जी, मुनीश जी, जगदीश अजमानी जी, यदि आप पूछना चाह रहे हैं तो पूछिएगा.
हाँ जी सर. गुड इवनिंग सर.
गुड इवनिंग.
सर मेरा पॉइंट है कि मेरे पास स्मॉल बॉरोअर्स काफी हैं, लेस देन 1 लाख केयर नंबर और मोर देन 5,000 केसेस है. उन सबको मैं चारों एजेंसीज में रजिस्ट्रेशन कराता हूँ, तो इट इज वेरी टीडियस जॉब. तो इन हालात में मुझे क्या करना चाहिए?
Sorry, so I'm slightly not clear. So are you a NBFC or are you an auditor?
Yes, I'm an NBFC. I'm NBFC.
You are an NBFC.
Yeah.
आप see, देखिए, मतलब let's be very clear on that fact. There is no escaping from that rule. Whether आपके पास borrower 10 है, 20 है, 10,000 है, 10 लाख है, अमाउंट लोन का 10 रुपए है, 10 लाख है, 20,000 है, कुछ भी है. All you have to register and report to all the data. Of course, everything is now system driven. Yes, ये I think काफी हद तक already ये हो गया है और future में तो ये होने वाला है कि there will be at least compatibility in terms of reporting. So the same format can be uploaded or shared with all the 4 bureaus. आपको हर एक के लिए अलग फॉर्मेट नहीं बनाना पड़ेगा. तो क्योंकि अब ये सब सिस्टम ड्रिवन हो गया है, everything has to be online and done system driven, so there is no escaping. So let's be clear on that front. As of now, there is no provision to bypass that provision. कुछ भी है, कितने भी borrowers हैं, कितनी भी lending है, आपको चारों bureaus पे register करके उनके साथ ये data report करना है.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
ललित जी, आप कुछ पूछना चाह रहे हैं? ललित जी, आस्क योर क्वेश्चन. ललित जी, आर यू लिसनिंग मी? मुझे लगता है उनका क्वेश्चन ना सर पूरा हो गया होगा जब आपने ये किया था.
Maybe.
तो
एक मेरे ख्याल मुनीश जी ने पूछ लिया. I don't know. Yeah. ठीक है. Fine.
Anyway sir, thank you very much for your. अच्छा, एक क्वेश्चन और आया है. अक्षत जी पूछ रहे हैं, is there a registration with CERSAI for securitization or only when there is a securitization transaction we have to report it with CERSAI?
No. I think this is a confusion people some people have. See, this has not to do anything with securitization. जो भी mortgages वगैरह जो भी चार्ज आपकी फेवर में क्रिएट जैसे जो होता है वो सब CERSAI को रिपोर्ट आपको करना है. That's it. So this has not to do anything with the securitization transactions only.
Thank you, Raman ji, for your very nice.
सर एक लास्ट क्वेश्चन. सर एक लास्ट क्वेश्चन सर. यदि मेरे पास मॉर्टगेज नहीं है, इवन देन मेरे को उसमें रजिस्ट्रेशन कराना है सर?
नहीं, मतलब तो फिर क्या आपका क्या है? What is it? What you are doing? What is the kind of lending you are doing? Unsecured.
That finance that vehicles.
हाँ, so see, अभी उस पर एक डिबेट चल रहा है कि जो व्हीकल फाइनेंसिंग है, क्योंकि उसमें चार्ज क्रिएशन आरओसी में होता है. आज की डेट में देयर इज इफ यू आस्क मी अ ग्रे एरिया, इवन उन लोगों को भी कई एक्सपेक्ट करते हैं कि CERSAI में करिए. बट ऑल्दो द माय सेंस इज गोइंग अहेड, दिस वुड बी टेकन केयर ऑफ बिकॉज वो आरओसी में ऑलरेडी चार्ज, सॉरी आरओसी कह रहा हूँ, आरटीओ में, सॉरी फॉर माय वर्ड, आरटीओ में चार्ज क्रिएशन होता है, तो इसलिए वो है. बट अभी दैट्स अ स्लाइटली ग्रे एरिया.
इन केस यदि मॉर्टगेज नहीं है तो वी कैन स्किप आल्सो. यदि मॉर्टगेज लोन नहीं है तो.
जी सर.
ठीक है
अजमानी साहब.
थैंक यू सर.
Thank you Raman ji for your wonderful deliberation and very detailed deliberation and clearing all the myths and confusion in our minds. You have started from the definition of the NBFCs, started way back from 1997 when the act is came, and you also covered very beautifully assets classification, income recognition, accounting standards, and what are the responsibilities of the statutory auditor also. And you also very beautifully covered the latest provisions of the NBFCs, what is the RBI is so hard on the NBFC, and by the seeing the data, only 94 companies who are deposit taking are in the market, in spite of all these things. So once again, I am thankful, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Uh,
Thank you.
Anand Dua ji also, thank you, sir. आप कुछ पूछना चाह रहे हैं दुआ साहब? You just join us. आप अनम्यूट कर लीजिए सर.
It
जी
has
सर.
been a thorough deliberation और इन्होंने सारे aspects उसके cover कर लिए थे. So thankful to you, sir.
Welcome, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
So he's a genius, sir.